if you're struggling with locking out your bench press, you can get it down to the chest, you get a nice, good, explosive start, and then it kind of stalls out. The techniques and tips in today's video and the paired podcast will help increase your strength through that mid-range and lockout portion. So give it a listen, give it a try, and I know it'll help.
The first tip we want to discuss is to not flatten out as you press up. So you can see here, as I'm pressing up from the chest is flattening down. So my chest is actually pushing away from the bar, so the chest is dropping. That's going to make you a lot weaker in the lockout. So once you have a good arched position, the bar should come down, touch you, press back up, but you never see the chest drop. That's very important for lockout strength. An exercise you can do to practice this is actually on a cable seated row. You can use any handle, but I like mimicking a barbell, so I'm using a straight bar here. And you can sit and actually squeeze your shoulder blades together to get a sensation of what that feels like to be able to maintain that squeeze. And then once you feel like you're able to do that, you can then hold that squeeze while practicing performing the rest of the row motion with just your arms. So you can see I'm holding the squeeze and letting my arms move. You'll find that this is a very hard challenge into the middle of the back, but it's a great way to build that mind-muscle connection with keeping the back nice and tight. The second tip is to not bounce the bar off your chest. This causes a loss of power coming off the chest. So instead, we want to come down, let the bar actually sit, and then explode up. Sit, explode. So we want to have that increase of stretch tension on the way down, pause, and then punch out of the bottom. So we want to punch from the bottom, not just bounce from the bottom. So you can see here, one of the techniques I'll use with clients to teach them this is to just have them incorporate it into their warm-ups. So as I'm doing the warm-ups per set, I would practice that pause on the chest to get used to the feeling of the bar being on me at the bottom of the motion, which can help alleviate any kind of confidence concerns or fears. And that'll allow you to develop that explosive punch off the chest. Another tip is using reverse band bench pressing. You can see where that line is, that colored line is indicating that we have bands going from the bar up to the bench press rack. This helps overload the lockout of the bench press. The bands, as they stretch towards the bottom, will alleviate some of the weight that you feel at your chest. However, as you press back up to the top, you feel pretty much everything that's on the bar. So this is a great way for you to feel a very heavy lockout to build that lockout strength. Another technique you can use is what's called a spoto press, where you actually come down and pause an inch or two off the chest, and you keep constant tension in the arms. You can see here at this angle that I'm pausing just off my chest, and that's allowing me to control that bottom position and punch out of the bottom. So this is a great variation to develop that explosive punch from the bottom. A couple accessories that also work is a crisscrossed tricep extension, where we're mimicking the upper arm angle that we would use in the bench press. So you can see from this back view that the upper arm angle is the same as I would use pretty much in a bench press, so it gets me used to extending my arm in that position. We want to make sure that we keep our elbow up and in the right position when we do that variation. If you don't have the ability to do that cable crisscross, you can do what's called a Tate press, which is where you push two dumbbells together and mimic that same kind of lockout. This helps target that lower inner portion of the triceps. Another good variation is weighted dips. The idea of weighted dips, as they best convert to lockout, is to use very heavy weighted dips. You typically want to stay between 3 to 6 reps. I've sometimes gone, down to 2 reps, but you don't want to risk too much injury. So here I am doing a nice heavy set of 6, and this is a great variation that you can use as well to build that lockout strength in the triceps. So these are the tips that we discuss in the associated podcast, as well as discussing frequency of bench training, intensity of bench training. So it's all really good information in that podcast. A bonus podcast is 1563, How to Personalize Your Bench Press Training. So that way you can pick the right motions, the right variations, the right structure for you. You can find all of our podcasts and more on our website at www.brutalirongym.com.